We have some major breaking news as it looks like there will not be a settlement between NASCAR and 2311 Racing in the big lawsuit. What's going on, guys? It's Daniel and welcome back to our video. As I just said a second ago, it looks like we got some pretty massive news in regards to updates to the lawsuit, as it looks like there will be no settlement for the lawsuit for 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports. Here's some of the things that have been going on with the 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports lawsuit. So over the last couple days, there were some settlement conferences that took place, I believe, on Tuesday and Wednesday. The settlements conferences did begin. They had 2 days of settlement talks. When they came out of the courtroom, judging by some of the faces that were coming out of the courtroom, it seems like nothing kind of went through officially and nothing was settled at that point. Then earlier today, there was a summary judgment hearing that took place. Now, they've been kind of a little bit quiet because in the beginning of this suit, when they were having a lot of these conferences that were going on and these trials taking place for like the preliminary injunction, among other things, Judge Kenneth Bell and other people were, well, not Judge Kenneth Bell, people running NASCAR and other people were able to comment on the situation. But in recent times, there really hasn't been anything that was ruled. Now, again, there was summary judging hearing that took place earlier today. There was a lot of things that could have come out where the judge could have ruled in favor of NASCAR or 2311 Racing and Front Row Motorsports. Of course, that decision, according to what was put out today, they had that hearing for about 3.5 to 4 hours, and basically what came out of it is that the judge has not made an official decision on that front. Now, Judge Kenneth Bell, it was confirmed earlier today and reported, I believe, by Bob Pockers. He reports that Judge Kenneth Bell didn't mention it in court today, but he has allowed the Driver Advisory Council to file a brief indicating its interest in the case. They are joining the case, just telling the court that there could be things that could impact them in their interest. We talked about this on the channel, I believe, a couple days ago on Monday or Tuesday. We talked about this where they're just trying to make sure that the drivers that are on it, and Jeff Byrne, of course, leads the Driver Advisory Council. He pretty much basically came on and said, yeah, this is not going to, basically, we don't want the drivers to get screwed at that point. In the last hour or so, there was a statement that was released, and Jeff Gluck was the one reported saying strongly worded statement from the team's attorney, Jeffrey Kessler, after the court hearing today. Here's what Jeff Gluck reports. 1023 statement, a tribute to Jeffrey Kessler. My client's goal has always been to provide opportunities for growth and stability for every team, and they remain steadfast advocates for a fairer, stronger sport. Today's hearing confirmed the facts of NASCAR's monopolistic practices and showed NASCAR for who they are, retaliatory bullies who would rather focus on personal attacks and districts from the facts. My clients have never been more united and committed to ensuring a fair and competitive sport for all teams, partners, drivers, and fans. We're going to trial to hold NASCAR accountable. Again, there was some potential possibilities that they were going to go ahead and try to basically force this thing to be done where there could be a potential settlement that could come into play. But judging by what Jeffrey Kessler has said right here, it doesn't seem like a settlement is going to be coming at all. Now, things could change at the last minute, and there's still a potential possibility that a settlement could come into play. But judging by, like I said, what Judge Kenneth Bell said earlier today, I don't have any faith nor confidence that we are going to get a settlement at this point. I thought maybe earlier this week when we had the settlement conferences, because they had 2 days, which is better than how they originally ran with the original settlement conferences that they had. I thought maybe there would be a possibility of that going down because Judge Kenneth Bell was really one of these guys to settle. But it seems like at this particular point, we're going to be going to trial. And a lot of information is going to come out, and you're going to have both sides. There's probably going to be a lot of text that's going to be revealed. There's going to be a lot of information that's going to be revealed from behind the scenes. And NASCAR at this particular point, they're going to want their books to be open. Now, there was noted today as well that Judge Kenneth Bell will make a ruling on the summary judgment in the next couple weeks. My best guess is it'll probably be in the first or second week of November, more than likely, probably after the season is officially concluded at this point, is when Judge Kenneth Bell will basically make a ruling on the summary judgment. There's potential possibility that 2011 and Front Row could have some of the things that they want thrown out. They basically, what they want is NASCAR's countersuit to be thrown out, where NASCAR basically has alleged that they were colluding in regards to the charter talks that were going on in 2022, and they basically want Curtis Pohl to get in a lot of trouble with the federal government, it seems like, at this point. And Judge Kenneth Bell can make a ruling on that. I would have to think there is a potential possibility that if NASCAR's countersuit does get thrown out of court, they could be looking to settle, because at this point, and I think NASCAR is really worried about this, is NASCAR doesn't want their books to be opened up at this point. When I look at this case and situation, judging by the way things kind of went today and judging by what was said in the statement, there is a potential possibility that 2011 and Front Row Motorsports could win the lawsuit. But it's something that needs to be made very, very clear. If 2311 Racing and FRM Motorsports win, it still could be a bad look for everybody involved, whether you're on the side of the teams, whether you're on the side of of course, NASCAR. It really doesn't matter. I think that this whole situation and this lawsuit in general, there's a lot of negative things that I do think are going to come out from this, and I think that a lot of fans are going to look at the optics of this. I mean, that's what the Drivers Advisory Council was saying, is like, look at the optics that might come out from this. It might not look really, really good. And I think that there is a potential possibility if 2011 Front Row does win. Jeff Gluck was talking about, I think, speaking to Chase Holding yesterday, but he thinks that there could be a potential split that comes into play, and there's a lot of things that might be in trouble. And here's the thing you got to look at as well. Will NASCAR be forced to sell off the tracks? Will they be forced to sell off ISC? Will they be forced to have a change to the media deal? Obviously, one thing that could be in jeopardy is permanent charters. That's one thing that 2011 Front Row has wanted throughout this lawsuit, is permanent charters and stability. But what if Judge Kenneth Bell goes on and rules that permanent charters and the charter system has to go away? If you get rid of the charter system, you're going to have a ton of lawsuits going to be flying out, because a lot of these teams have invested in charters. I mean, a lot of the teams wrote their declarations in defense of NASCAR, it looked like, where they basically wanted permanent charters to come into play, but they said if the charters get taken away, it would not be good for the stability. There's a lot of team owners in this industry that are really, really scared at this point. And as this trial has gone on, and as this court case has been going on, there's been a lot of stuff that has been starting to come to light. At this point, I am not entirely sure who's going to win. If NASCAR wins the lawsuit altogether and they win the lawsuit outright, then NASCAR would have basically 2011 and Front Row Motorsports. They basically would lose their charters. They would be gone altogether, and they would basically be out of the sport completely, which would be very unfortunate for the sport if that was to take place. And it would be unfortunate to see teams like 2011 Front Row who've worked their butts off. I mean, it was just announced today that Zane Smith, Noah Gragson, and Todd Gillen, they're going to be back with their respective teams in 2026. Does Front Row maybe back out of the lawsuit in general and this focus more toward 2311 Racing, being the only team involved with this suit, which I think would hurt their argument a little bit on that front. To me, though, at this particular point, I think it's so wide open on who is going to win the lawsuit in general. I think there's a case for both sides where you can make, but depending on what happens here, and I think this should have been granted from the get-go. If permanent charters would have been on the table today, and it seemed like NASCAR wasn't really open to having permanent charters, at least from what was talked about today, if they were open to having permanent charters, I genuinely think we could have had a settlement right here, because I think that's the one big thing that was being held up at this point. At least we did have a settlement conference, and we did go a couple days, but it seems like they didn't really get anywhere, and it seems like these teams are really far apart at this point. And again, it just sounds very likely that there isn't going to be a settlement that's going to be reached, which I think isn't the best thing for the sport at this point. I think a settlement would have been the best thing, because I'm a little worried about what's going to happen in December when December 1st the trial comes around, and I think the sport could be looking a lot different by the time we get to 2026, and there could be some ramifications that come the way. As much as I think people would love to see a split, or some people would like to see a split would be terrible for motorsports. Look at IndyCar, for example. The IndyCar split was really, really bad. It wasn't good. And then you think about some of the silly season repercussions of other drivers like Bubba Wallace, Tyler Reddick, Riley Herbst, all those guys, they'd be affected. Corey Heim be affected. There's rumors 2012 now could have an Xfinity program next year. So who knows what's going to happen on that front. But it seems like more than likely that a settlement wasn't reached today, which is not the best look for the sport in general to see that a settlement wasn't reached today. And it looks like there won't be a settlement happening. And it seems like we'll be going to the trial on December 1st. So probably not going to be going to settlement here. And I think we're going to be going to trial here in the beginning of December, and it should be interesting to see how that trial plays out at the beginning of December, considering Michael Jordan then want to take the sport down and change the way things are going. It'll be very interesting to see how it plays out as time goes on and more information gets revealed around that. So, that's going to today's special breaking news report on it looking like NASCAR and 2011 Front Row are not going to settle the lawsuit. I want to thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to the channel, notifications on, so if I win a video, it does go live on my channel. Follow me on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and support me on Patreon as well. Let's go below that and comment your thoughts below on today's episode. What are thoughts about the potential possibility that a settlement is not coming between 2011 Front Row and NASCAR? Who do you think is going to win the trial in December? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. In a couple hours from now, you're going to see NASCAR Xfinity Series race picks going to be up a little later today for Martinsville. Then, of course, tomorrow we'll have a NASCAR news video, talk about this, talk about some of the silly season stuff around Daniel Suarez, Noah Gragson, Zane Smith, talk about, of course, potentially Harrison Burr going to Sam Hunt Racing, and some silly season news around 2311 Racing as well. Also talk about some other big things. We're going to have the Truck Series race to be, of course, dropping, and then, of course, on Saturday we'll have reactions to the NASCAR Xfinity Series race and Cup Series qualifying, and also that Sam Hunt Racing announcement, and then, of course, on Sunday, starting lineup video for the Cup race in Martinsville, and we'll have the race race video as well, potentially Shane Van Gisbergen video. The Monday we should have a NASCAR news video dropping on the channel. We got content coming up, people like Haley Deegan, Shane Van Gisbergen, Carl Edwards, Kurt Busch, Kyle Busch, Bubba Wallace, Ross Chastain, Sheldon Creed, Sam Mayer, Frankie Muniz, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Ryan Preece, Tony Breidinger, Cletus Safar, Dodge Ram, Will Brown, Brock Feeney, Cam Waters, Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, Ryan Preece, among other things as well. So anyways, like I said, I want to thank you guys for watching today's episode. I'll see you guys next time for more great, awesome NASCAR content, other motorsports content on the channel like this. Take care, buddy.